Well, at long last for me, I'm back at Discovery this week. We've had so much stuff going on in the studio. I won't even go into it. It's been really busy. We got some new contracts coming in and lots of people we had to meet with. But I want to give you and me, because see, I like this, some work on Discovery. And what I'm doing here is I'm looking at Elliot's brass work and trying to figure out what I want to use in this. So, oh, I just lost a window, but that's okay. So I'm going to take this out again. The window fell out. That's all right. Move this piece of tape. And I also want to remove this. So now I can kind of get in here and see if I can't chip out some of this stuff and put in the correct stuff. And I don't know if it'll work or not, but we're going to find out here in a second. I got my sharp knife. There's a whole wall back here that this is supposed to fit. And I don't know if it's at the same scale or not, but we're going to find out. So there's some interesting things going on here. So I'm just going to start cutting. This brass does not have the little indentations that Paul's stuff has, because Elliot makes these at home in his shop. And they are absolutely fantastic. But I'm making sure that I don't cut through something I'm not supposed to cut through. So it's very thin. It's amazing how thin he gets it. So I have the wrong kind of blade. You should have the straight edge blade on this. I'm not going to use the piping that he's put in here. There it goes. And you can see why I use the glass. Because if I did this on anything else but glass, it would indentate. Dentate? No. It would indent. Indentate. Okay. Here we go. As it is, it's this stuff's so thin that you can really make some bad mistakes like I just did. So I should be able to get this out of here now. Nope. I really appreciate that it's this thin, because this way there's a chance in heck that it'll actually go over the stuff I've already made. Now, I thought already I cut through this, and you can see it just, boy, this blade is just not sharp enough or something. So there's a little mangling going on here. There it goes. Now, flatten that back out, right as rain, and I'm going to see if this goes on the back wall. Not quite. This is bigger, so I don't think I can use it the way I wanted to, darn it. Might be oh, I see. No. Actually, it's slightly smaller, I think. That fits there. What I may have to do is sort of piecemeal this, and it's not going to be easy. I can see that now. But this would be nice to have in here. It almost matches exactly, but it's a little bit smaller. You see what I mean about the tape being held down really well? So well I can't get it off. So that's the paint that did all that. So we're going to go like this. A little more here. I'm just putting glue on so I can lay down the brass. He's putting more glue on so he can lay down the brass. And then we're going to very carefully, as not to touch that to me, put this in here like that. Look at that, Elliot. I mean, really, it's a tiny bit off, but I mean, it really looks good, so we don't care. Looks better than what I did. which was okay. Don't move on me, please. Don't move. Don't. Oh, a little bit more along here. There. Push that down, and hopefully it will stay. Seems to have. Now, when this is painted the right color, I'll have to go in here with an airbrush. Should be pretty good. What's nice about it is this has that extra level of detail. And it really straightens out the whole thing, makes it look really nice. Oops, sorry. So it's very clean and tidy and neat and stuff. Now, over here, I'm trying to, I think, he points out what everything is on this lovely, lovely instructions. All three of these walls, with surface piping, lines, brass, hold things together at the floor. Also, small emergency airlock entryway. Well, that's over there. So, and we got this over here. I think this is this right here. I think. Well, one way to find out is to cut it out and put it over there, because there's two. There's this one, and then there's this one. And with Elliot Brown, what he does is very smart. He makes you individual different pieces and group pieces and extra pieces. So if you got up on a part, you got a chance sometimes 2 times, sometimes 3 times. And I suspect that this window right here is this window right here. I could be wrong. Right now, Elliot's going, oh, you're wrong, but he can't do anything about it because he's watching a video. But we're going to find out. And if it is wrong, it'll still look good. Okay, as you can clearly see here, this fits everything I made perfectly right to the edge of this door shape. It's unbelievable how well this, actually it's not. You know, we're talking about Elliot Brown here. The guy's a master. You know, he could build things and send them to the moon, I'm sure. Why aren't you working for Elon Musk? Anyway, I am just in love with this. It's so cool. It's like, wow. And see, these pipe parts, I didn't think I'd be able to use. I left them on, and they're totally working. So this just adds another great level of detail. And I keep forgetting, this is my model. So I'm really happy. Not that I'm not happy when I build one for you. But then there are those times when I screw up like I just did. But you'll never know because I just fixed it. So this stuck to the wood. But the fit is quite good. I'm really pleased. Now, working with brass etched parts can be quite traumatic for the weak-hearted individual. I'm trying to orient this for Mary's camera as best I can. It's not, it takes a while to get used to doing this stuff, and you don't screw it up like I just did. Because what happened is of course the glue sticks to me much better than it does to the brass part, and then it bends it and distorts it. But because it's brass, I'll be able to push it back rather successfully. There we go. Just a little bit off there, so I see if I can pop that up. Just a little tiny bit. Oh, I can actually, oh, there it goes. It moved rather perfectly. And bend that in there, and now we have the entire doorway padding and all that, which is, I mean, it's really nice. Works really good, Elliot. This is really great stuff. Next step is to break off the howl I made and make the new one that goes over this hole. I could be wrong. I think I am wrong, but I was thinking that goes over here and lined up with the hole. And if it doesn't line up the hole, then I know it's not the right part, but it might be. Come on. And that would be the eye. But then it covers up the screen next to it, so I'm not sure that's actually... no, it does fit that way, kind of. So, those are those parts there. So these are all bits for Hal, and I recognize these. They go on the side. I don't know if we'll ever see them. So somehow, this must be the back of the entire Hal eyepiece, I think. So we're going to try to figure out how this all happens together. I probably have to look at pictures of the real thing in the book. And so what he's saying to do is to take these parts, make a little clear box, and glue them on. And then I probably would pre-paint them, then glue them on, maybe. Because you want those other parts to be clear, so you can put a light in there and have a light glowing from there, I would imagine. There's a lot of other parts here, and these came from Shapeways. These are amazing. Inside here, I can see it moving, and I hope it doesn't break. Oh, there we go. Inside here, they must have printed this first. These are the claws, see? Isn't this fun? There, got them out. There's the hands, which you need a magnifying glass to really see the detail, but the detail's all there. And of course, those go on to this. And it's very hard to see exactly what we have here, but because it's clear. But these are, you can see that all that detail in here is there. I'll have to primer these tomorrow. These are beautifully done, very, very accurate. But so I got two of these, and you can see how the claws are inside there. So I'm very happy with these. And of course, I bet if I'm smart, I'll put these back in the bag or forever lose them. So those are we're going to build tomorrow, or at least primer them so you can see them and do a little bit of work on them and then see how they fit through the door. So I may have to cheat and lower this floor just a little bit. I can do it. I definitely can do it. I'm going to put this inside here to see how Elliot's parts are looking. And I'm just going to hold it in there and put some light on it. And I think these look really nice. His parts really, really, really make this a real class act. Thank you, Elliot. We'll be back tomorrow for more fun with brass and pods and the Discovery interior. A lot of fun. So here we are. We're back at Discovery for more fun. Remember I built this. This is my little Hal thing, which I thought would be okay for the background. Then I built this. Now, you have to go real close to see it. It's much better than what I built, and it's the right size. It even has those little goodies on the side. For as much as we're going to see it, there's where Hal is. I had 3 chances of putting this on. I did it in 1. But basically, it's all here, and I figured out where all the parts went. The top part's here, which lay down very nicely, and it's on the clear bits, just like you said to do, Elliot. And this fits right here. Now, this is clearly the right size. It's beautiful, in fact. So, I'll turn it around this way. Of course, it needs to be painted, which we'll do here in a second. I'm going to paint this by hand and then glue it in here. And at that point, I'll be able to start working on the 2 rails that come out with a little pad on it to put the pod on. So first thing I think I'll do is I think I'll actually glue this down and paint it while it's sitting right here. It's amazingly accurate overall. The whole thing. I'm amazed. I'm going to leave this. Well, I love felt pens. It should all be black back there. It all fits so well. I'm so pleased, Elliot. They have plenty of room to walk around behind, just like they would have. So I'm going to glue this down. And then I'm going to get some flat black paint and just paint it by hand. And I'm not sure if Paul's are like this but they probably are with the HAL station and workstation, and yeah, that's very rooted in there now. It really looks great. So now I'm going to paint it. I'm going to go get some paint. I'll be right back. So amazingly, I found some flat black paint. It has a tendency to disappear around here. And now I'm changing these really carefully. Pretty cool. We have to wait for the kicker to set up a bit more, but it's Elliot, this is going to work beautifully. Good job, my friend. So what I'm doing now is I'm making these little pads smaller. There's lots of indiscrepancies between the inside of the ship and the outside. Surprise, surprise, surprise. I'm surprised, actually, because Kubrick was very, very thorough about everything on the movie. But there's just a little bit of differences between the actual interiors and the outside. And this is typical of things like Star Trek and Star Wars and other venues. These do not exactly fit through this door if they're at the right height. And I'm trying to get a better look at the pads that they're sitting on. There's other pictures here. And there's a lot of distance around them, it would appear. Oh, this helps me a lot. Yeah, they're inset pretty far, and you know they don't. There's a picture somewhere of the ship and the pod sitting outside. Yeah, they're quite smaller somehow, and yet this pad is the right size. So you know, whatever. There aren't a lot of pictures in this book that show me what I want to see. Yeah, it's hard to see. But I think that this actually, I'm going to do it anyway. It'll make more sense for it to come out like so. We should get a better fit coming out. I can get lower now. I just don't know if those are right. The pods are going to sit on there like that, so I don't know. It may be that these actually kind of conform to the, because that sharp edge just doesn't seem right to me. That looks a little better, but basically I'm unhappy with it. I think it's wrong, but now what I want to do is get two rails underneath it, and there's just so little to go on. I have some better pictures. I need to look at them. So this is a great book. If you're a 2001 fan, I order you to buy one. It's difficult to find what you're looking for in here, and you would think that I would have marked it. And when you start looking through this book, it drives you crazy because you want to stop at every single... Yes, they are shaped like that. Yep. And you see, I mean, look at the height of this compared to the door. So again, there's discrepancies between the full-size model and this, and these are angled. So I'm going to go with that. See if there's anything else. Shows me the pictures dealing with the pod and everything else, and the interiors they vary from page to page. This book is just fantastic, but you know what? I'm pretty sure that those are actually supposed to be shaped that way. It's very, very close. What I want to do is put 2 rails under here. I'm going to have to cut these. This is finally drying. And then so they're like that underneath and coming out. In order to do that, I really need to put this back inside. And that's about, now the floor is sitting a little lower as suggested by Elliot that it should be. See, right about there. Oh, that howl looks great back there. It needs more paint. So I'm going to have to cut 2 rails. And I'll cut this in half. So we'll cut this in half, and when we come back, I'm going to connect these 2 rails. So I'm roughing. Throw them to the floor very roughly, Centurion. I'm roughing these up so I can glue them in position, and I'm hoping that these are long enough. Hoping. Really hoping. I had some smaller stuff. I had more, as it turns out. Didn't know that. So I'm going to try to glue these in place. There's 2 rails. Let's see how we did. That's about, boy, did I ever get lucky, because that's right about the right length to put the pad on there and put the pod on it, providing that they actually fit on here, and they do. So this is starting to be fun. Of course, Rosie hears monsters outside. That's what we refer to them as. Okay, I'm going to put this down here. Yes. Be good. And there's our little pad. And this will fit like so. Yo. And it's going to sell. I'm sure that's going to sell. Here we go. Would the pod actually go through this hole? Heck no. And that's the problem with this. And Elliot pointed this out to me. He said that the floor was not low enough. If I made the floor so low that it actually came to the bottom, the very bottom, which we know it doesn't do because the pictures clearly show it, okay, it would not fit still if I did that. Because as you can clearly see, the pod is, in my opinion, no fault to Shapeways. I'm not saying anything, but it just barely fits through. There's no room for that clearance that's underneath. You can see that the pod is much bigger than the one in the film. And so, someone stands corrected, and I'm not referring to you, Elliot. I'm referring to the people who made this pod. But if you can see here, by looking at this model right here, and if I get this in here, how much bigger this is than the one that's in the film. Look at the distance around it. So the solution to this, of course, is get it outside the door and no one will know, except you, who pays attention to things like that. So if it's actually sitting outside, and I wish I had the rest of it in here, but if we do this, you'll believe that that came through that door somehow because it's already sitting outside. It had to, right? So that's all very disappointing. And even if I used thinner rails and made it thinner, it would still be a problem. So it's really disappointing to me, but what are you going to do? Because let me get all the way through. Look at the tiny little bit of clearance that there is underneath there. Those rails, they have to be little teeny thin things for it to work. So I'm just going to do the big lie and stick it out there. So what I'm going to do is put some more paint on this. When we come back, I'm going to assemble all of this and put it in here and see what we got in a minute or 2 or 3, or Mary says 15. We're back. Yes, we are back. Unfortunately, one of the microphones was not turned on, and I shot a whole bunch of stuff showing you how I did certain things in the interior that are now not part of this video. And I don't think showing it to you without narrative would have worked. So you're just gonna have to look at it as it is right now. If I turn off some of these lights, maybe, it's amazing to me with all the LEDs that I've got in here, how this is not that bright, but it still looks really cool. And this is all of Elliott Brown's wonderful interior in there. And in fact, it probably shouldn't be so incredibly bright, but I'm going to add just a few more in the back, and that should brighten it up some more. And what I did is I built this whole ramp and stuff. You saw, I think that had sound on it. And you saw how I built the HAL, well, the workstation where they tested the 8035 unit. But that is really beautiful, and I can't thank Elliott Brown enough for providing those parts. Now, to get this lit up right, I actually had to kind of raise this up, which is going to be a problem for the interior, but I'll work it out. I'm probably going to raise these down a little lower. And I might end up using some single source LEDs at the very locations of the lights. I got some fuzz there. And of course, we've talked about the fact that these don't really they're too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach a wire to the back of this and have it kind of out here and turned a bit. So it's like flying away. So that way you won't be comparing so much, you know, if it's close enough or not, and to fit through this hole. I mean, it just won't. It would have to be down below here at this size. Or you can't have the rails or the ramps. But I'm very pleased with the interior. And I'm pretty sure I can sell the lie by having it out here. So, I mean, I have to, because that's the smallest one they make. And there's another company that makes these, but I'm not sure that they're any smaller. So there's often screw-ups like this in the model industry, and it's understood. There's so much to think about, do, and perfect in modeling. And people really shouldn't be so judgmental. If you've ever tried to build a darn model yourself from scratch and make a garage kit, you'd realize that sometimes you screw up. And I still love the model just the same. So, but this has really come out great. Of course, we have to do the flight deck in here. Well, actually, this sort of is the flight deck, the pod deck. We're going to do the bridge in here next. And I'm going to paint the pods. And I may get really lucky and light up that little red HAL in there by running a thin fiber optic. In fact, it might be, if I run a stiff enough fiber optic, that I can use that to support this. We'll see. So, but this came along very, very well, and I'm very pleased with it. So next week, of course, we're going to do the bridge. Then we're going to finish off the interior further, paint these. I'm going to weather and do all the right colors on this, and then put the windows in last. And then we're going to move on to the spine and the rest of the parts to build this model. We also will be revisiting Voyager, because in case some of you are wondering, we're going to finish light gapping this and touch up the paint and start getting the decals on. So it's going to be a great week next week, and I want to thank you all for being part of our Patreon fun and being a subscriber. We'll see you next week.